This is the Widow Podcast, and I am Karen Sutton, the Widow Coach. I'll be supporting you through the loss of your life partner so you can find a more positive way through your grief. I want to give you hope after loss and to know that when you are ready, you can create a meaningful life for yourself with the help of me, Karen Sutton, and the Widow Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Widow Podcast. Today I have the lovely Carolyn Gould with me. Carolyn is a widow herself, a mum, and she has also written a widow's walk. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see here. It's a journal for widows, a self-compassion journal to guide you through grief. And I have to say, it's absolutely brilliant to help you explore areas of your grief and write things down, because not all of us are able to or comfortable with talking about our feelings and what comes up for us in widowhood. But we'll go into that a little bit more in a bit. But welcome, Carolyn. Thank you so much for coming on. I know this isn't something that you're particularly comfortable doing, but you're here, so welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, bless you. I know we were just chatting, weren't we, in the pre-chat, and I was like, you okay? Carolyn was like, oh, this is just a little bit out of my comfort zone. Just finds it so much easier to write than to talk, which I'm sure is, the same for many people listening today. So thank you for stepping out. Yeah, that's it. So, John, to start with a bit about your story, your husband Dave, and how you came to be in the club of widowhood.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Dave had a car accident back in 2018, which left him with serious brain injuries. And he had 6 months in hospital, but unfortunately didn't obviously survive. So here I am now in the position I'm in as a widow.
That must have been a really, really difficult 6 months when Dave was in hospital for the whole of the 6 months, was he?
Yes, yeah, he was. Well, there was 3 different hospitals involved, but 2 of which were in London, so that meant traveling every day, which is a 2-hour journey each day to see him. And so not easy, but got through it somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have a son as well, don't you, who was 10 at the time. Did he go with you on your trips to obviously not every day, I'm assuming, but regularly?
No, I sort of let him decide of when he felt he wanted to come, and he did a few times, which I think is good as it turned out, because he got to see his dad. Not necessarily a good thing as seeing him the way he was, but at least he was able to have that choice to come or not. So he did come up a few times.
And were you able to communicate with Dave in that 6 month?
No, he couldn't actually speak, but I kind of had a bit of a connection with him, and I just felt that he was aware, but just he couldn't talk. So again, that made it tricky because we weren't able to have conversations about what he wanted or anything really. So that added to the difficulty of it.
And had you had any of those conversations before the car accident? Had you ever talked about what would happen if anything happened to either of you?
Not really. The only thing he did used to talk about was where he wanted to be buried, bizarrely. So that was something I did know. But other than that, not really. It wasn't. You don't expect it, do you? I suppose we all get on with living our lives and don't think about what could happen at any point.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did you do then when Dave did die? What did you kind of draw on for support in those early sort of days after he died?
Well, I think I didn't, and I think that was a bit of a problem. I was focusing on Charlie, my son, and that was what kept me going, basically, as worrying about him, making sure that he was okay. So I guess I ignored myself, which didn't end too well. So I had to seek some help. I didn't, but something I wish I should have done differently, but I suppose you just go with whatever you feel like you need to on at the time, don't you? Because facing up to it is extremely difficult. So I think in the early days you just do whatever you can to get through the days, really, don't you? And a bit of a
Absolutely.
blur, really.
Yeah. I mean, do you have family nearby?
Yeah, I've got my mum. So I'm close with my mum, and I've got the rest of the family and my good friends. So the support's there, but if you don't tell them what's actually going on, they can't really sort of do anything to help you. So
Do you
it's, yeah,
think you almost drew back from them a little bit?
probably, yeah. Like I
Mm.
say, I'm a bit of an introvert, so I would sort of just, yeah, go for a walk or just stay at home, or yeah, rather if
Yeah.
I was having, especially on the, days where I was feeling really low, it's easier to just avoid
You
and
always
stay.
been like that in life?
Um, Probably, yeah. I've always been quite quiet, really. Keep myself to myself, and yeah, I suppose it's to do with not just sort of getting talking and like doing this.
Mm.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think it's not something that comes easy to me, so.
Yeah, no, I get
Mm.
it. It doesn't for a lot of people. So you say you kind of got to a point where things got so difficult you had to get some help. What did that help look like for you?
Well, I knew that I was not doing great, so I just made a call to the doctors to see if there's anything they could suggest, and actually referred me to Health in Mind. So that they then called and did an assessment, and they decided that it was PTSD, which to me seemed a bit over the top, but that's what they said it was. So I started therapy, so sort of CBT
Mhm.
therapy, which at first I was like, I don't know if this is helping. And it was hard because they make you face everything. So it's draining, very draining, because of you're getting a lot of emotion out, but I stuck with it, and I think it was helpful, the tools they give you. And so I think it was definitely the right choice to step up and go, right, I need some help.
How did you sort of feel, with CBT, obviously that involves you opening up and talking a little bit, which isn't something that comes easily to you.
Mm.
How did you sort of navigate that and find your way to be able to speak a bit more openly with somebody?
It wasn't easy. It was well, it was very tricky just to face up to the rawness of it all, isn't it? It's You got to deal with it somehow, and the only way to do that is to face it head on, really, isn't it? Um, yeah, it wasn't easy, but she was actually the lady that was talking to me, and very understanding, I think, which helps. Yeah, but I'd say it probably took a bit longer than it could have done, but I would hold back a little on some sort of stuff, but eventually it's like, no, this has got to be done.
And has that given you a little bit more confidence opening up to those around you now, to friends and family now, or do you still find it incredibly hard?
Yeah, to a degree. Again, I don't go, say hi, I'm having a really crappy day today. I just say hi and carry on, as normal, really. It's not something I openly would say if I'm having a bad day. They might be able to tell if I get a bit, emotional or quieter. But other than that, yeah, I still I still don't really
Mm.
open up about it, I guess.
So what helps you then, Carolyn? What are your kind of tools, strategies for releasing what's within? Because I talk a lot about finding a healthy release for our grief, mentally, physically, emotionally, and for a lot of people that is talking, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
holding space for somebody and listening to them, listening without judgment, listening without trying to solve problems.
yeah.
But obviously if somebody isn't comfortable talking, or doesn't find it as easy to open up, what's helpful to you? What do you kind of lean on to support you?
Well, writing, because I'm still able to get out the emotions just by writing it out.
Mm.
Um, and I can write whatever I want, you know. use any language I like, just whatever I want to write, I can write, because there's no one's ever going to see it unless I'll go, well, there you go, you can read that, that's how I feel. But it just, it's a way of getting the emotions out, but not having to necessarily to speak them, because like I say, I end up holding back on some of it because it's still painful or difficult. But writing, you're free, you can write whatever you want. And it helps, and it has helped me. I didn't necessarily realise the impact it was having at the time when I started, just odd little things, and sometimes I write something and I just burn it. Like if I write a letter to Dave, say, because that was one of the things that the CBT lady said to me. She said, do you feel you were able to say goodbye? And I said, well, I guess not really. So she suggested writing it, and I suppose that's kind of what kicked it off a bit. So I could write that letter, and then I thought, well, no one I'm not going to show it to anyone. So I thought, well, if I burn it, I'm sending it to Dave. In my weird ways, but do
you know what? It's something I talk about in my program with people, actually, in Finding Hope in Widowhood, because not everybody did get to say goodbye. Not everybody got to say the things they wanted to say or feel they should have said, and it's really hard, isn't it? Because you're then carrying that around. And I think to write it down in a letter to your person, and then have a little ceremony, burn it, throw it in the fire, like you say, you're sending it out into the universe, to wherever you want it to go. And I think it can be a really wonderful thing to do, actually, really cathartic.
Definitely
helps you sort of get out what's within, because it's very true, isn't it? It's not what we let out that causes us harm, it's what we keep in, it's what we hold on to. We tie ourselves up in knots with our thoughts and our beliefs, and if we keep hold of them, we're holding ourselves in a place of discomfort. So to find that release. So do you still write letters to Dave?
Yeah, I do, actually. It's like I say, just not all the time. It's not something I sit and religiously do every day, but every now and then I think, just say something, or if maybe I feel a little annoyed or whatever it is, I can write it. If someone's peed me off, or you can just write about it, and it, like I say, no one knows what you're doing, but you're getting all that emotion out rather than letting manifesting within, which causes more problems. It might not be immediate, but down the line, it doesn't go away. It will stay there unless you can get it out. But so like talking, like you do with your podcasts, but again, writing is another good positive thing to do, I feel.
Do you judge yourself sometimes, when you're writing? Is it a completely safe space for you? Do you allow yourself to write and think and feel everything without judging it?
I would say that probably took me a little while, actually, because sometimes what you think, and you're thinking, oh, that's not good, or so I've learned to just not judge it, just to let it, whatever is coming out, just to write it and let it go, and just no judgment. It doesn't matter, like I said again, who's going to see it? It's helping me personally, which is an important thing that I need to do. I think that can take a little while, I think, to not be judgmental of what you've put, but it's with time that gets easier.
It's learning to allow what is to be, isn't it, without sort of framing anything as good or bad, right or wrong, positive or negative. Everything just is. All our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, they're all valid. They're all a part of our grieving process. And again, it's learning to let go of that judgment, that criticism, feeling that you're doing it wrong, or you're a bad person, or all these
who's to say it's wrong? That's just someone else's opinion. If it's right for you, then that's what's important, isn't it? I
think you were there, weren't you, last night when I was talking? I did my live at 5 in the Widowed and Rising group, and one lady said, I think she was a about 20 months in, and one of her friends had said to her that, you know, she needs to move on because she's talking too much about her person. And you know, it's like, it's an opinion, it's, you know, and it's quite a common opinion for people to think that, you know, if somebody's talking about their loved one a while after they've gone, that's not healthy, that's not a good viewpoint. And it's quite surprising. Well, it's not surprising really, actually, because it happens so much. And I think, if I'm honest, before Simon had died, I probably was that person as well that thought, oh, you just shouldn't be talking about it. Stop talking about it. They're dead. Like,
that's exactly the point, though, isn't it? Until you're in that position or you go through it yourself, you can't fully understand it, can you? So, like you say, we all have an opinion on it, but now knowing how hideous it is, we know that, you know, and we're all in the same boat, but everyone still deals with it differently, don't they? So you can't judge. What's right for you isn't right for someone else, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, 100%. Do you talk about Dave a lot, or do you find that hard to do as well?
No, I can talk about him, you know, and like with my son, we talk about him quite a lot, all the silly things that they used to get up to. And so, yeah, it's nice. I don't want to not talk about him because, you know, and he was such a big character that, you know, a lot of people thought a lot of him. So, yeah, no, it's not something I do probably massively, but I still talk about him because he was a big part of my life.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't just suddenly not talk about him because he's not there.
And how does it impact your relationship with friends and family? The fact that, I mean, obviously you've always been a bit like it. You're not somebody that's obviously talked very, you know, maybe openly all your life. So I guess there's an element where people know that about you, and that's okay. Do you think it's impacted how they've been with you through your grief and the connections that you've had whilst grieving?
Possibly. They may have not, you know, may felt that they can't maybe ask or pry too much. But I don't know actually whether that's, I don't know.
Do you feel connected to people?
Yeah, the people that have, you know, that mean a lot to me. Yes. It's tricky actually because it's difficult, isn't it? Because not only are you dealing with the grief, you've got to deal with the people and how they are and how they treat you. And some people just don't know how to talk to you or bring up subjects, so they just avoid you altogether. Others, I don't know, it's just grief is so still so taboo, isn't it? People do really struggle to talk about it, and I know I'm one of those, but not in the way that I don't want people to ever ask me about it or have an understanding. But yeah, just a very difficult subject for a lot of people, isn't it?
It is. You know, it's complex, it's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's scary. You know, I've said it before, you know, I work in grief. This is what I do. It's my area of kind of expertise is specialized in, but it's something I'm very comfortable talking about. It's something I understand a lot about. However, there are times when I have spoken to people and I simply haven't had the words, and I haven't known what to say because I was so scared of saying the wrong thing. And it's real. It's real because you know someone's hurting, you know they're going through hell, and you don't want to say or do anything that's going to compound that in any way whatsoever. And we all say clumsy things. We all say things that, you know, on one day actually could be a compliment and be received quite well, and on another day, you know, will not be received well at all, and actually is really great somebody. But I think, you know, we have to let go of the expectation that we're going to get it right all the time. And I think we as the supporter, but also we as the griever, have to understand that you're going to get it wrong. You're going to say something that's going to upset somebody, but say the thing and you'll know by the reaction you get how it's landed, and you just own it and go, really sorry, I know that's not what you want to hear. And letting go of this idea of perfectionism, of always getting it right, of having all the answers, of knowing the right thing. And
well, you can't, can you? Because like we've just said, everybody deals and handles with it differently.
Yeah,
you know,
they really do.
and
Yeah.
I think the older generation especially, it was never spoken about, was it, at all?
Never.
So to them it's like strange that we want to talk about it.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. I think they're like that with a lot of subjects, aren't they, actually?
Yeah.
So in terms of you've obviously got your way personally, internally, of releasing what you're thinking, what you're feeling with the writing. What's helpful to you, being an introvert, being somebody that doesn't maybe want to sit down and you know, pour their heart out to somebody? What has been helpful to you from your friends and family and loved ones throughout this process? What things have people done that have felt supportive and kind, acknowledging that you don't want to sit and talk about it?
Well, I think just knowing, probably the ones that know me better, and just let me either talk, you know, say something or not. You know, there's no pressure there. And I think that's, you know, I know that they're supporting me, and if I wanted to talk to them, I can. But just the fact that they're there helping me and sort of supporting me in ways that I need, but there's no pressure.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't. They're not trying to force me to talk and, you know, say, well, you should talk, you should do this, you should do that. So I think that, yeah, it's just giving me that freedom to be how I want to be. And, you know, not every day I want to keep talking about it. I just want to, you know, just live my life and do what I'm doing that day.
Yeah.
I think, that's the main thing. There's just no pressure.
Yeah. Accepting you for who you are and how you want to grieve, and not thinking that, you know, there's another way, there's the way you should be doing it, and they're trying to get you to do it the way they think that you should do it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's, like say, you know, we all deal with it our own way, and it doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. It's just how we need to deal with it.
Absolutely.
I think, supportive friends, you know, I think, they know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, how did A Widow's Walk come about? What sort of prompted you to write this journal for other widows?
Well, I walk a lot, so that sort of gives you, again, it's another release and a bit of freedom to give your brain a break and just enjoy your surroundings. But it was a niggle really that sort of started of wanting to help other widows, feeling that there's not a great deal of support, and probably more for the people like me that are quieter and don't necessarily want to sit and chat about it in a group and all of that. And it just wouldn't go away. So it just was there, and it was like, and it's quite strange. I knew it wasn't going to be a book, and I knew it wouldn't be just a journal, that it would be a conversation. So I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to create. So I just kind of started making notes really, and made a start on it, and just thought, well, let me just, you know, so I, you know, had bits of paper here, there and everywhere of different things that I wanted in it, and just started bringing it together and then I contacted a lady who helped me get it to the point it is now, you know, made and done. So I had a little bit of support there and guidance of how to sort of get it on. But obviously all the words and everything is all mine, and how I'll design and everything. The front cover, actually, my son took the photo, so that's nice as well, that he's a part of it as well.
It is. It's a lovely picture.
So it just started like that really, just making notes and just made a start. And there was a lot of self-doubt involved of, oh, you know, who's going to want to hear this or my story, and all, you know, all the negative self-talk that we do. But the main driving force was that I wanted to help others, so that overrode the silliness that I was thinking. And I just thought, if I can just help one person, then that would make me happy. And
I bet you've helped more than one person, haven't you, with it?
It's nice actually, and you know, the feedback has been really great, you know, unexpectedly really, because I wasn't expecting any, I don't know, I didn't really have any expectations, I guess. Just wanted to help. I
think what's really lovely about it is it kind of, it covers all areas, doesn't it? You know, it's very much a space to talk about how you're feeling, but also, helping people, are they reaching out for help? Are they taking time for themselves? How could they make improvements, with what they're eating, even sleep, getting outside, taking a few breaths, going for a walk, just making those better choices, because we do have choices, and I love this. What makes you smile? Do more of it. And because there's a lot of guilt attached to finding joy. I did a podcast about this a couple of weeks ago. The kind of meaning that we place on this, but it's also very encouraging and supportive of people. And you've got pages of information in there sort of explaining what helps, why it helps, but then asking the reader to personalize it to them. What can you do? What choices can you make? How can you heal? Because it is a choice. I think it is a choice. It's not an easy choice. It's not an easy process. No. But I think we're very aligned in believing that our healing is our responsibility, and we have to figure out what works for us and how we bring more of that into our lives so that we can create something that can feel good again after our person has died. That's not easy though, is it? Sort of.
No, and it takes time, doesn't it? I mean, the early days, you can't even think about anything other than, God, how am I going to get through this? But the old saying, time's a healer. I don't know, it's a healer, but you learn strategies, you learn coping mechanisms. And with the journal, I wanted it just to be gentle, but in a sort of a bit of a nudging guidance way, just to sort of help people just, like I say, get their feelings out.
We do need that, because they do say time's a healer. I think it's more what you do with that time that you have, really. And what I think is wonderful about this journal, this guide, is that it helps you think about what you want to do with the time that you are trying to navigate your way through, because it does pass. We don't always want it to, but it does. And it's like, what are you going to do with the time that's passing? What choices are you going to make? And how can you just very, like you say, very gently, small things to think about, but what can you do to support yourself through your grief, your days, your moments, and just having that safe space, I suppose, to write things down, because not all of us know what to write when it comes to journaling and writing things down. So having the prompts is brilliant.
It does help, and it's still strange to me how the writings come about, because I've never seen myself as someone that writes. So it's quite strange, but it seems to be becoming a thing. So I'm just going with it.
So you've got another project underway at the moment, haven't you? What's that one?
It's sort of based around walking and well-being, and again how walking has helped me a lot, as well as the writing. And then I like taking photos, so I'm incorporating all of that. So I've just got to sit down and get that one finished.
Some of your photos, some of your photos are amazing. They really are. I've just been like, wow, because you live where do you live? You live in a beautiful part of the country.
It's Rye in East Sussex. So it's lovely. It's just something I like to do, and I take pictures of what I like. I don't know if other people always like them, but things that distraction, but not a distraction in a way that I'm ignoring what's going on. Gives me just a break. I think that's what it is more. It's a break from, I'm a constant thinker, so my brain is constantly on the go. So it can be, it gets a bit tiring, doesn't it?
It does, and I think we all need a distraction, but a healthy one. They're not always healthy. Some of my distractions were drinking and dating and partying, and they didn't serve me so well, but they got me to where I needed to get to. So I could find that more healthier distractions. Again, it's nothing's right or wrong, is it? But I think our brain does need a break from it all, because it is just constantly whirring around. It's absolutely exhausting. we're often going around in circles. We can't find the answers, and being creative is a really wonderful way of turning off your thinking brain, isn't it, and giving it some respite and focusing on something creative, and taking photos, just what a wonderful thing to do, and to be able to reflect back on as well, and be able to use.
But it's kind of a journal in a way for me with the walk. If I go out for a walk, I don't take a notebook and pen with me, but taking the photos is like creating a visual journal, I guess. But then also walking helps with the writing, because it gives you that freedom to just get a bit more creative.
Absolutely.
It all works together.
So how do people go about getting a copy of this, Carolyn? How do they get a Widow's Walk?
They can get one directly from myself via email or my Instagram, and I'd send them with a nice little package of some extra little goodies, or it's available on Amazon.
Brilliant. But better get it through you, much better. Okay, I'll pop the links in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they want to get themselves a copy, which I highly recommend. It really is a wonderful journal. It's a wonderful gift, or if you know someone that's widowed, maybe a gift to them to help them through it, to help them navigate their way. What kind of words of wisdom, I suppose, Carolyn, would you give to somebody who maybe, like you, finds it difficult to talk, is more of an introvert than an extrovert, but feels that they have so much that they want to let out? What would you say to that person?
Well, I think you've got to find what works for you. Definitely writing, I would say, is a good start. Whether if you don't like it, you can always try it. But I just think it gives you that freedom, and you haven't got to talk. You just write whatever you feel, and I think that's a massive help. It's been a massive help for me. But getting out in nature and just finding what works for you. It could be anything. It could be a sewing class. It could, just whatever it is that gives you what you need, then you've got to stick with that.
And sometimes it is trying new things, isn't it? I think we're kind of thrown into this world of widowhood, and we don't know what we want, and what we maybe are used to, or things that we've previously done don't work the same way for us anymore. They don't feel that the same way. And sometimes we have got to sort of pull up our big girl pants, as it were, and go, right, I'm going to try something different, and I'm going to commit to it, because maybe you'll think about journaling. And by the way, I think journaling works really well for extroverts as well. I've had many people in my program that have taken up journaling, but they find it very easy to talk about it as well, but it's been very beneficial to them. But almost committing to, right, I'm gonna try it for a week or 2 weeks. I'm gonna just 5 minutes a day, or 15 minutes every other day, and commit to it, to do it for a period of time before you kind of make a decision as to how it feels.
It might not be right for everyone. But like journaling seems to be quite a big thing now.
It is
for various different people.
It does. And like you say, that's it. And it's just trying something new, isn't it? Like you say, a sewing club, a walking club, a photography club, pottery making, just anything that gets you out and trying something new, and just focusing on something, depending on where you are in your journey, obviously. But
I think meeting new people as well, if you're going out doing these little clubs, even though as an introvert I still, I've been to a pottery class myself, and I didn't know anyone there. I think you grow with confidence, because you've got no other option. You can't have someone with you to take you and hold your hand. You just got to do these things, and then you end up realizing, it's not actually as bad as you thought. Like doing this, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's it. And just really, I personally think you do have another option. You don't go, you don't do the thing, you stay in your comfort zone, but actually that keeps you small almost, and then you're not able to grow around your grief, and you're not able to see what you're capable of, and you don't reveal those parts of you that you didn't know existed, you know, the parts that you go, I can do it, and it's not as bad as I thought actually, and that builds your confidence and your self-esteem, and that belief, that inner faith that we need to go, I can do this, it's not easy, but I'm figuring it out, and I'm finding my way, and I'm stepping out my comfort zone. And I think, you know, we don't have to do that. We can stay in our comfort zone, but I don't know personally how beneficial that is in our grieving journey. But again,
but I think right in the beginning, obviously, we're thrown into this situation that we haven't asked for.
No.
We haven't got a clue what is going on or what we've got to do, but there's a lot of stuff you have to sort out.
Yeah.
And only you can do it. So you don't really get a choice in it. And I think that's probably part of it that helps, is that you've got to do certain things that you don't have a choice. You have to do it.
Yeah.
So then you sort of look at what you've achieved and what you have done, and slowly you start thinking, well, hang on, I've done a lot more than what I realised.
Yeah.
So, and then if you keep that momentum going, then that helps.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point, because I think sometimes, because we have to do it, because we have to go to the person's funeral, because we have to go and sort out the will and close the bank account and do all, you know, you have to do those things. You don't want to. They're not easy things to do. But if you can create that awareness around the fact, do you know what? I did that thing. I did it. And it was the hardest thing actually that I've ever had to do. But I did do it, and I survived. It helps you recognize actually that you really can do some really, really very hard things. And
I think it's not looking back in a way that, or, you know, looking back on life, but looking back on what you've achieved. Because otherwise, if you just carry on each day and you're not actually acknowledging all of that, and then you don't realise, I think it does have an impact, I think, on a bit of a realisation that, oh, hang on, these are all, I've done a lot of things actually. So I
love that. I love that acknowledgement, because, you know, so many people say to me in my program and my membership and stuff, you know, like, I'm no good at making decisions. I can't make decisions. But when you sit down, you say to somebody, right, just take a minute and look at all the decisions you have made up to this point in your life. Like, you can make decisions. You might not have the answer to the questions you've got right here and now. But they will come. You will figure it out, and you will make a decision, and you are more than capable of doing that. And it's just, like you say, acknowledging what you've done so far, and sort of going, do you know what? I'm kind of doing all right actually. Rather than
not being so hard on yourself, isn't it, as well? And thinking about yourself, it's hard, isn't it? You don't want to put yourself first, but you have to. And it's learning that as well, isn't it? It's understanding that you need to be able to function and live, you know, get on with things. You have to. It's not selfish. It's a necessity, isn't it? You've got to
100%
think about yourself.
It is an absolute necessity if you're going to find a way through this. You know, it's really turning the focus onto you and thinking about who you are and what your needs are, and what the kind thing to do is, and to slow down and to give yourself some grace and to be patient. And it doesn't come naturally. It really doesn't. It's, you know, especially, you know, you've been a mum, a wife, worker, all that kind of stuff. You know, you're always giving, you're always thinking about everyone else. And actually in this situation, you kind of got to go, I've got to think about me now, because there's no one else to do that.
Exactly,
and I've got to play that role, and I think that really helps us learn to like us, who we are again, you know, and value ourselves a little bit, which again isn't something that we're quite so good at. But really looking forward to seeing the next edition, the next project come to life, Carolyn. I think that'll be fantastic. And obviously you're in my Widowed and Rising groups as well, so people can find you there, and you know, every now and then I know you put a link up to it just to let people know it's there. But like I say, your contact details are in the show notes, so people can have a look there and reach out and grab themselves one of these wonderful journals to support themselves through their journey. So thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for stepping out your comfort zone. I hope it wasn't too painful for you.
No, it's fine. I might not want to watch it back, but it's all good.
Oh, you did.
Thank you for inviting me. That's quite honoured considering some of the guests you have.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Widow podcast with me, Karen Sutton. If you would like to be part of a supportive community of people who understand your grief, come and join my free Facebook group, Widowed and Rising. And make sure you tune in to the next episode of the Widow podcast.